Remember that story of Peter in the New Testament? Peter's in a boat with all of his disciples, and there's a big storm, and Jesus wasn't with them, and they all thought they were going to die. And then they see a ghost walking on the water. It turns out it wasn't a ghost; it was Jesus. Jesus is walking on the water, and he calls out to them, and they're crying out to him. And Jesus looks at Peter, and I love Peter because Peter was crazy, and I just liked Peter. He says, "Peter, why don't you come out of the boat and walk on the water towards me?" And he didn't calm the storm's still raging. And what's Peter do? He's got the courage to climb over that boat because Jesus called him. And he climbs over that boat and he begins to walk on the water. The only person I know in history that's ever walked on the water besides Jesus. He's walking on the water. He's walking towards Jesus. Where are his eyes? His eyes are locked on Jesus. They're focused on Jesus and what Jesus is doing. They're right on him. And he's walking with his eyes locked. And what's going on? He's doing it. He's living in a miraculous life. He's living in the supernatural because his eyes are locked on Jesus. And then the lightning flashes. And then the loud crackling of thunder. And the wind is blowing the spray off the waves into his face. And he turns and he begins to look at the waves and the storm and all that's happening. And as soon as he turns away from the Lord, what happens? He begins to sink. He got distracted. He got distracted by the wind. He got distracted by the waves. And he began to sink. Some of you this morning are sinking. You barely got your head above water because of all the distractions in your life. But what does Jesus do with Peter? Peter, this is important, Peter cries out to the Lord. And as soon as Peter cried out to the Lord, Jesus reached down and began to pull him up. And Jesus will do that for you as soon as you cry out to him and say, God, I want to return to my first love. I want to return to you. I have been distracted by this life. I've been distracted by this world, but I want you. And if you will do that, he will begin the work in your life, and he'll begin the process of pulling the layers away, giving sight to the blind. It'll be painful, but sometimes God's in the pain, and it's keeping you focused on him. Because not only is he in the pain, he is the deliverer, and he delivers you from the pain, and he delivers you from the bondage, and he delivers you from the sin, and he rescues you. So we lay it all before him. Say, God, here I am. Do a work in me.